What the devil did to Adam and Eve really pissed God off. As kids, we used to cloud hop. We were allowed to go certain other places, planets, and dimensions. There were some places that we knew to be completely off limits, though, as frequencies shift so fast and are ever shifting. So some places were just off limits, as it was so dangerous to travel there. The atmosphere in such places caused what we called your spirit to get spun, meaning sometimes you would not be able to remember anything even seconds before, sending you into a confused time frame where you don't know what is going on. Ever see a person just standing, holding their arms in a praying mantis position, just walking in circles or something, or standing there crying? That is something similar. There were also certain planets and galaxies that we were welcomed and that our houses would break bread together at least once a year. It was so much fun as a child to cloud hop. There were six of us that used to be thick as thieves. Our families lived on the same cloud share block. It was the devil, myself, my best friend Alicia, Mickle, and Dean, who are brothers, and Corey. Our parents are also very close and work together to protect them and their inhabitants from danger. It was all of our duties to keep the galaxy in a peaceful order. This had become quite hard as a task as some planets had crumbled and no longer existed due to destruction during war, a total depletion of resources, or the atmosphere was just no longer inhabitable. So there became threats from other nations who were looking for new places to inhabit. Therefore, since birth, we were tasked with mastering the skills of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, piety, and fear of the Lord. Whatever sessions or skill mastery classes were assigned by the elders, we had to attend whenever set up for us. When we were away from our studies, we cloud hopped. We knew the areas which were dangerous and that we weren't permitted. Some of our parents had been called to the test planet to help the inhabitants get acquainted with the land and teach them skills. The Watchers, they were called. The Watchers were also able to breathe and live on the planet. Their statures were much bigger than the inhabitants. The Watchers also were able to shapeshift into bodies that were more human in nature or animals. They were there to guide the Watchers and work with scientists to develop the atmosphere so that other life forms could come and thrive there. We were not allowed to cloud hop there. However, Mickle and Dean's parents were Watchers on the planet, and one day the devil suggested we cloud hop there just to visit them for a little while. I don't know why we listened to him. So one day we all decided, yeah, we will go to the planet for a short time frame. We agreed to shapeshift into bodies that were more human in nature so that we could be hard to spot or discover. It could be hard for us to be spotted or discovered. We gathered ourselves and cloud hopped to the planet. We managed to not be able to be seen by one watcher who was on the planet. The atmosphere on the planet was thick. As we breathed in the planet, it seemed to make our heart chakra beat very fast. This made the breathing mechanism, the lungs, I believe, in turn breathe faster. The whole transition into a more human body was tiring and yet met with so much adrenaline, your senses are all out of whack. Much of your celestial energy cannot be housed in the human body. So you are not able to harness all celestial energy needed as easily as you would outside of the human body. Transitions take much longer to manifest on the planet. This is a shock initially until you know how to control the vessel you are in. After the initial shock, your internal systems, also known as your central nervous system, begins to settle down some and relax. The planet amazed us. The inhabitants were more primitive in nature than the celestials. The inhabitants formed colonies, and the heads of the colonies were schooled by the watchers on the ways of life. On the planet, there was a darkness that came over the planet while we were there. It was called night. We thought God had called us, and we were so scared. We ran to hide and ended up running into a building wherein there were people who appeared to be doing studies. We later learned that this was called a school. We met friends there and we began to cloud hop there on a regular basis, even though we weren't supposed to. The devil would cloud hop to the planet by himself on a regular basis. I did not know what he was doing there, but I knew he was probably up to no good. One day, Mikkel and Dean's parents caught the devil having relations with one of the inhabitants in the form of an animal. They grabbed up the animal and was about to throw the animal in the fire when the devil shape-shifted back to his celestial form. Shocked and startled, Mikkel and Dean's parents reported their findings to God. He forbade the devil and all of us to ever visit the earth again. The devil did not obey. However, he continued to cloud hop to the planet. He felt powerful there. He could lead the people with mind control. It was so easy for the celestials there to reign power over the inhabitants. This was never the purpose of the planet, though. The devil did not care. He began to do perverse things on the planet and teach small groups of inhabitants the secrets of the celestials, including their magic. He ended up passing seed to inhabitants, and that inhabitant gave birth to a Goliath and died in the childbirth process. That child was big. It was so big. His descendants are the Melithin. When Mikkel and Dean's parents found out, they became furious and sought out the devil. He hid and came up with a detailed plan to get rid of them. So the devil shape-shifted into a very pretty woman and wielded the attention of Mikkel and Dean's father. The father was totally smitten by her beauty, and agreed to walk the girl into town. As she said, she had been harassed by a strange man and was afraid. As they walked, they talked. The pretty woman gave him great conversation, seemed to be able to speak with him on a level that other inhabitants could not. He was drawn to her. She suggested to him, let's go to the temple and have wine and communion. He asked if his wife could join. She said, of course. The wife meets them in the temple. They prepare for communion. The devil put something in the communion wine to make the couple unaware of their surroundings. He's a tricky little fellow, ain't he? They were conscious but unable to move their limbs. The devil prepared an altar and laid the couple on it. He grabbed Mikkel's father by the hair on the back of his head. He then did unspeakable things to them both. He pleasured them both for days, fed them, drinking drugs until they were dependent on him. After a few days, the devil invited others to come dance, lust, and have sex with them as well. He tied Mikkel's father up and rammed his member into the back. Mikkel's father screamed with agony. The devil raped him in this way for at least 3 hours. Mikkel's poor father was barely conscious as the blood seeped from the back all over the covers and onto his back and legs. During this ordeal, Mikkel's mom was sodomized by a man and a woman in the same room. They were forced to look at each other throughout the ritualistic ceremony that was taking place. He was trying to change the integrity of the ecosystem, which he was successful at doing. The devil was creating an ice ring around the planet to cut off direct communication from celestials. These ice caps are known as the poles and are currently melting. He also performed rituals that lowered the vibration of the planet. With this lowered vibration, he was able to control the minds of the inhabitants very easily. He began various forms of mind control on the people, unbeknownst to them. He made them forget that the mind is the real goal, created a very lustful and perverse atmosphere that exists till this day. Sex is supposed to be a most sacred act. To date, it is everything but that. Most people think about sex all day. There are people that actually rape people for sex because it is that important to them. This is why it is urged to not have many relations and marry, not to punish us to one lover for life. It is so that we can guard ourselves in this harsh environment where everything that has been actually placed for our demise. No matter what we do, we gotta rise. When he was finished, Mikkel's mother was pregnant. The devil had deceived and defiled them so much, they became his prisoners on the planet. Mikkel's mother became pregnant behind the whole ordeal with their first son. His name was Cain. Mikkel's parents were so afraid of the devil that when God finally found out they had defiled themselves, they never mentioned the ordeal. The thought of them having to think of what the devil did to them drove them insane. As well as the devil broke their crowns during the defilement, that's making it impossible to connect to the celestials in the way they're used to. Needless to say, God didn't find out immediately what happened to Mikkel's parents, but when he did, he was infuriated. It was earthquakes, tsunamis, and tornadoes and hurricanes at the same time on the planet. God decided to send his son to save the earth one day. Therefore, on December 22nd, the sun dies and stays in one place for 3 days until December 25th. Then it goes south to return in the spring. Once it passes the equator, that is the time of Passover. After this happened, God was never the same and began to govern the heavens and earth accordingly. Aha!